Hey guys, welcome into CrushTheStreet.com. I'm Kenneth Amaduri, and I had recently just interviewed Brad Eckenweiler of Lifestyle Delivery Systems. We'd spotlighted them earlier this year. It's a cannabis company based out of California. They're going to be in production, and they're going now. It's go time. We spotlighted them earlier this year. It's late October here, and we're hitting the ground running with news coming from the company. It's a big deal. The city's getting involved. It's a big launch. They're doing a ribbon cutting ceremony. We got some footage of that. And I want you guys to enjoy this interview here. We're going to tour their facility in Adelanto, California, and get a full update on what is going on with Lifestyle Delivery Systems.
Good morning. We're here in Adelanto. I'm Brad Eckenweiler. I'm CEO of Lifestyle Delivery Systems. We currently are ready to almost start what is going to be an operation here in Adelanto to develop Cannastrips. This is a delivery system for cannabis products that is unlike anything else. Today we're going to have our ribbon cutting here at noon on October 19th, 2017.
Hello everyone, and welcome into Crush the Street. We've been covering cannabis here at Crush the Street pretty heavily now, and it's no wonder why. Canada will be the second country to federally legalize recreational cannabis in 2018. I believe there are 29 other countries in the spectrum of the process of legalizing recreational cannabis. But more importantly, and I would say the biggest short-term catalyst, is that we have California, January 2018, recreationally legalizing cannabis. So I have a big treat for everyone today. I'm on a Skype call with the CEO of Lifestyle Delivery Systems, Brad Eckenweiler. And we are going to get an update from the company themselves, talk to them about the sector, and tour their facility with them here during this call. Brad, thanks for coming on the line with me today.
My pleasure, Kenneth. Thank you for taking the time to come and visit us.
Well, this is pretty cool. Before we go and check out the facility, though, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the sector and then the company, and then see all that you guys are doing with the tour. So Canada goes legal here in 2018, the second country to federally legalize recreational. California, too, is just over a month away. And I want to ask you this: what will the positive momentum this will do for scientific research be when we have the endorsement of the legal legislation behind the sector on a medical basis? Because officially we can now do this, and we're not talking about it like it's the outcasted family member anymore.
You know, that's a fairly complicated question in the sense that for the U.S., federally, this is still illegal. It is still a Schedule I drug. So as far as the FDA is concerned, this drug cannot be tested unless you have special permission. This drug is basically not in a position where normal medical protocols would be applied to it. It sits in a very unique class above everything else as a very dangerous drug still as far as the federal government's concerned. The 2018 referendum that was voted on last November has to do with recreational marijuana sales being legal in California. But that is specifically for the state of California. That does not encompass any other state, nor does it have any leverage outside of the number of people, obviously, that voted for it on the federal government. It's our hope that at some point, this kind of tidal wave, if you will, of acceptance for this material, especially in the medical field, will at some point sway the federal government to make decisions and change their specific attitudes towards the product. But as it sits right now, the advent of recreational use is or adult use here in California is the terminology, is specifically the fact that it's going to increase demand, according to the state of California, by at least threefold. So a number of things are going to happen. The demand most likely will also transfer to those visitors that are visiting California, much like Colorado, which receives a significant amount of their revenue from visitors coming to Colorado and using marijuana products. We expect the same thing's going to happen here in California. The difference is that Colorado has approximately 20 million visitors a year as vacationers, and California has over 250 million visitors. So we think there'll be a significantly or disproportionate amount of access to product and ultimate use of product here in California by visitors as well as residents. Ultimately, though, it's all about marijuana itself and its medicinal benefits at this time. But we do expect that the recreational use and the regulations California is going to implement in 2018 are going to make facilities like ours and products like ours at the forefront of what is acceptable. The regulatory licensing, all the other issues with regards to track and trace, purity of product, all of those issues are going to come to fruition in January, which is going to reduce a significant number of producers who exist today. Those producers don't meet these qualifications or can't produce products that in fact qualify under those regulations. So January 2018 is going to hold a significant number of changes for the marketplace in California. The result of those and how those will impact LDS yet to be seen, but we believe we're in a very good position to take advantage of the regulatory environment and the additional recreational or adult use provisions that will take effect in January.
Yeah, it really seems like the company is hitting the ground running here and prepared for what is coming. Before we get into some of those things, I just feel like the sentiment and the stigma is largely changing around marijuana or cannabis. And I feel like in the medical space, if people knew how much marijuana is helping people, more people would be for it. And maybe that's the reason why a lot more people are for the legalization of cannabis as opposed to 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I would just ask you, what are some of the biggest successful use cases you are aware about in regards to cannabis in the medical space?
Yeah, Kenneth, I'm glad you asked that, because actually one of the probably more impactful results of marijuana were in fact here in Adelanto. The mayor, Richard Kerr, his grandson has diabetes, and he was constantly in the hospital. He was becoming resistant to insulin. He started using CBDs, and his insulin over the last 2 years has dropped in half. He's now playing, little league, football, all kinds of sports. He's a 10-year-old again. That was the difference for Mayor Kerr, is his promotion of this cannabis medical material, if you will, or these products, were a direct his experience, his family. And I think those stories are beginning to grow. More and more people that have access to medical marijuana, if they find that in fact medical marijuana is giving them a solution or relieving a pain or in fact reducing inflammation or other things that maybe their pharmaceutical drugs aren't doing at that level, or the result of the side effects are something that they can't deal with. As these stories begin to mount, they begin to create more and more advocates. More and more we find people with some family member who a marijuana product, cannabis, CBD, THC, has helped them in some way. And I think that is really what the momentum is. The momentum is exactly the medical side of this, the benefits that people are receiving, and they're receiving them without a prescription and without side effects. So I would say that LDS, being in Adelanto, was a direct recipient of that benefit with regards to Mayor Richard Kerr's kind of change of direction with regards to that. I mean, we have a number of doctors on our team, including Dr. Sanderson, Dr. Bonnie Goldstein, all of whom are using cannabis in some way whether it's experimenting in their own deliveries, whether it's patients that they have, all of which we're getting more and more stories. I mean, we're into thousands of stories now. And we're just one company, and it's not like we've sent out a circular trying to get these stories. These stories are coming to us because of the products we're creating. So again, the medical side of this product is in fact what is the moving force, at least in our estimation.
Yeah, that is exciting. You have the smartest scientists, the smartest doctors, PhD level individuals endorsing the legalization of cannabis and what's going on and how much it's helping people in so many ways. Okay, Brad, so the last thing that I wanted to touch on here before we get into the company is in California, I was reading reports that some 10,000 to 15,000 cannabis farms have been burned down with these historic wildfires. And because we're going into 2018 where it's going to be legalized in California, is this going to have any implications on the supplier industry with these historic fires?
The fires have been devastating. I mean, not just to the wine region, but certainly to the cannabis area of what's known as the Emerald Triangle, Humboldt, Gaberville, anything Northern California in that vicinity have had some effect or been affected in some way by the fires. We actually had a team of our people up there looking for high-grade pesticide-free material, and we were in the middle of a harvest in Northern California when the fires started. So we were lucky enough to be able to pull a harvest without any issues with the fires that are there currently. But there are certainly a number of growers who've been affected. There's certainly a significant amount of what would be this fall's harvest affected. Not even if it was burned, but just by the smoke and ash and other things that are involved. So not unlike the wine industry in Northern California, certainly the marijuana industry will be impacted. To what degree, nobody knows yet. I mean, the fires aren't even out at this point. So to be able to assess what that impact's going to be, that's probably something that we won't know for a couple months. But absolutely, there's an impact.
Wow. Well, let's talk about lifestyle delivery systems. I was fortunate to actually tour the facility in person a few months back in the construction phase. And I really want to drill down a few points of interest from shareholders we have here at Crush the Street who want to know about the company, who want an update on what's going on. And we have you on the line here today, Brad. So where are we with LDS?
Well, we're excited to say that our lab is in production. We're excited to say we're actually going to, tomorrow, Thursday, we're actually going to have a ribbon cutting, which the mayor, the members of the city council, the city manager, city attorney, all are going to be here. Part of it was actually at their bequest. So we found that our lab and our facility has become a point of pride, if you will, for the city of Adelanto. And we've had congressmen, senators, fire departments, fire chiefs, police departments, enforcement agencies all come through to see the facility that we've in fact constructed. So I think our shareholders are going to be impressed by the building itself and certainly its capabilities, which are significant. So one of the I guess more important issues is the fact that we have this spectacular facility, and its capabilities are much greater than the amount of production that's in Adelanto currently. Adelanto is just starting, but currently we're sourcing material, as I said earlier, from other areas. Of course, we have to test it in the field, we have to test it once it's been harvested, and we have to test it pre-process, post-process, and then we test it again when it becomes product. So real quickly here, I think we're going to look through here, and you're going to see we're currently in the process of what will be probably a 2-week process of processing as much as 2,000 tons of live resin. So this is product that has not been dried. It was harvested fresh, clean, and was frozen, and we brought it down here. So we brought it in this door here. It comes through this door. Basically, on the other side of that door, it's checked in. All the SKUs are checked. All the codes are checked. Seed to source, source to seed, seed to sale. All of these are all input into our computer before we start processing. So every batch, we know exactly where it came from. We know who the grower was. We know who the genetics were. So we, at this point now, have enough material here to run at least for the next month, possibly two. Depending on what happens with the fires, obviously, we'll be looking to source more material later in the week. But as we come through, you'll be able to see that we have decarboxylating ovens, we have decarboxylating tubes, we have enough of the lipicide and wax removal to do up to 100 liters at a time. We also obviously are doing our own extractions, we're doing our own distillation, we're doing a number of different extractions and distillations depending on what product we're making. We're also doing our own formulations for all of our products. So Dr. Sanderson is at the forefront of all of our formulations, and all those formulations are, at this point, are medically driven. So everything that we're doing has a medical version, and we are looking towards that version and basically solving certain maladies that, say, whether it is a cancer patient, whether it's a epileptic patient, or in fact if it is diabetes or a degenerative patient. So any of those things, pain related, inflammation related, we're building formulas for those, as well as sleep disorders. We have 4 SKUs right now, but everything that happens on the extraction and formulation side basically happens in the laboratory.
Yeah, that's really exciting. So Brad, let's talk about what investors have to look forward to. You got a ribbon cutting ceremony. You're in production. So where are we with potential sales, and is the company taking pre-orders for the product? How are we on this front?
Currently, we're in the extraction phase. So over the next week, we'll be extracting and distilling and building formulas. Next week, we intend to be making product, and that product already has a home. So for all intents and purposes, everything that we can produce right now will in fact be on a pallet being shipped starting sometime next week.
That's amazing. All right, so let's talk about a little bit on what you anticipate the profit margins to be, sales projections, and what will analysts be using in the future here to value the company?
Well, I think ultimately the best analytics on any company are profits. So at the end of the day, I think we're going to be looking at the fact that how much can we produce, how many products can we put on a SKU, and how many of those obviously are sold. So for our purposes, everything here is going to be determined by the amount of money that we make for our shareholders. We expect to be in revenue, I said this month. We will be significantly greater amount of revenue in November. We hope to close the year out on a profitable note. So that's what our goals are at this point. The number of products that we're going to produce initially will probably be less than half dozens, 5 or 6 products. But those products so far are all spoken for, so we're looking to have basically those products available to be sold within the next week to 10 days.
Wow. And so what does the demand look like going forward here, especially anticipating what we have in 2018?
Well, yeah, the 2018 numbers, I doubt very much we'll be able to keep up with. Currently, our focus is going to be, because the strips are a fairly new device, if you will, in the delivery system format, we believe that that's going to probably take us anywhere from 90 to 120 days to where the market honestly can appreciate, and probably a lot of it's going to be word of mouth just because of the constraints the advertising models are here in California. We won't be allowed to use television. We won't be allowed to use a lot of things. So a lot of this will be word of mouth, but we have so many ears in the dispensary side of this equation, and everybody wants to be able to offer this product. So we're going to take a hard look at social media, individuals who can drive individuals to taking a chance, taking a look, try the product, and hopefully that's going to increase the word of mouth, if you will, distribution. But the other side of it is we'll also be making cartridges. We'll also be making other just distills all on their own, selling distilled product. So whatever comes through the doors here will go out within a relatively short period of time as a profitable product. But our primary focus is still going to be the strips, whether it be for pain, inflammation, or sleep disorders. So those will be the three main categories that we're looking at until 2018. 2018 will be a different world. And we're not going to address that world, although we have formulas for the adult use provisions. We wouldn't be producing that until January.
Okay, Brad. Well, we've seen some pretty cool stuff here. I guess we're going to be going into where a lot of the magic happens. And in the production and manufacturing room, why don't you take us away?
Great. We're going to take the distilled product that we've created and the formulated product that we've created. Now we're going to turn it into strips. So we take that, it's in a stainless steel vessel. We're going to take that vessel into this room, and it will basically come here onto the strip machine. And at this point, it will be turned into strips on release paper. So we're going to walk you back here to the beginning of this process. And the process basically begins back here. So once that material that has now been formulated and put into the stainless steel container, the stainless steel container then feeds into the machine by the way of two pumps. So these two pumps basically take the material, put it into 4 lanes on this machine, on this release paper. Once that has been accomplished, that wet material comes into these 4 stages to cure. All of this is monitored by the computer system back here for thickness. It basically thickness, which in fact relates to our dosing, our accurate dosing, and then everything that's known back there is translated onto these 4 curing stations, the result of which is a finished strip coming out at this end, being rolled up onto a large roll of release paper, which is then transferred to the packaging machine. The packaging machine then takes that paper and those 4 strips, basically seals them in a pharmaceutical grade package and lines them up at this end. And this is a minimum of 25,000 packages an hour, a maximum capacity of almost 50,000 packages per hour. So we've just basically calibrated this machine. We're about 48 hours away from running it. Obviously, that will coincide with the material in the laboratory. And that process, as far as building strips, should happen this weekend. So we'll have strips for next week in packages ready to deliver.
That's incredible. So remind everyone what those numbers were. You said up to 50,000 packages an hour. What sort
Correct.
of numbers are we looking at? What sort of figures are we looking at when it comes to sales and margins and opportunities for the company to be profitable?
Today, based on our cost, based on our overhead, we're looking at each strip generating approximately 80 cents of net profit after cost. So you can do those calculations on your own, but the strip machine itself can do 50,000 strips an hour. The packaging machine can do almost that number. Obviously, could do 1 million strips a day on a 20-hour day. So there's a significant amount of production capability here. We believe that obviously we can meet any demand from this side, on the production side. The only holdup for us will be raw material. And that's one of the reasons that we're creating our nursery, which maybe we should take a look at. Our nursery will be ready to begin its process before the end of the year. So we're hoping early December, the nursery's in operation, and then our vegetation and growth areas will be ready sometime early February. But we'll go take a look at those if you'd like now.
All right, guys, so we just walked around to the back of the building. Brad, why don't you give us an idea of where we are and what we're looking at?
Okay, we're just about to walk into or take a shot into what will be the nursery approximately 7 weeks from now. We're currently just sanding the floors to be able to put down the epoxy flooring that will allow us to basically keep it sterile inside. We have 8 grow rooms where we'll be producing our own seeds. So we'll be able to control all of our genetics, which will save us a huge amount of time on our extractions. And why is that important? Well, if we only have to extract from half as much material to get exactly the components we want for our formulas, we're going to save half of the money when it comes to the production side. So this is a significant solution, if you will, to having to, say, extract from 2 or 3 plants to get all of the material, all the genetics we want in any one formula. So we'll have 8 grow rooms in here, or 8 seed rooms that have 8 specific genetic seed plants. Those seeds will be taken, they will be put into individual pots who are coded so that we not only track from seed to sale, we track from genetics. We'll be able to tell you the genetics that are in each and every product that we produce. So we're going to take a quick peek in here. It's a little noisy, excuse the noise, but these guys are working 7 days a week to make sure that we hit that 7-week number. So you'll see 4 of these atmosphere-controlled grow rooms on each level. Everyone who comes in here is sterilized. Everything that leaves here is sterilized. The reason is we don't want to take the pollen anywhere outside of this room. So every one of these rooms are negative atmospheres. So when you open the door, it only sucks air in, so none of the pollen gets out. This is specifically important to everything that we're doing on a medical side, so that we can justify all the genetics we do and do everything in a pharmaceutical manner.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, even when, if the company transitions to go to the recreational legal aspect of things, I mean, that's important because right now the black market is supplying the needs of people who want to, engage in marijuana on the illegal basis, and they got to worry where this is being sourced from. But in a facility like this, they can Absolutely. Have confidence that they're ingesting something that's safe.
That's safe. It doesn't have pesticides or fungicides, and in fact, it was processed in a safe manner. Everything that you saw in the laboratory is basically would qualify as an FDA 100 facility. It won't, because FDA is not going to qualify a marijuana lab. However, we'll run it at an FDA 1000 level just on the production side. So everything that we're doing is in anticipation that at some point the FDA is going to say this is no longer a Schedule I drug. And when they do that, we hope to be in a position to take advantage of the fact that we can get those qualifications and we can take those things obviously to the next step. But I agree that I think the customer ultimately is going to want the safest material he can get. I mean, for the last 20 years, no one knew what they were getting. Now you're going to know exactly what you're getting. You're going to have tested material, you're going to know what your dosage is, and your effect will be the same no matter if it's this batch or the next batch or the batch after that. So again, I think that's what we're trying to produce here, is that pharmaceutical comfort level that you're going to buy something, you're going to know exactly what you're going to get, and the results are going to be the same every time.
Okay, Brad, so you were telling me about the city and the ribbon cutting ceremony, and this is actually going to be quite a big deal. And I guess it's important for the audience to understand that the city is making quite a big deal about your facility and what you guys are doing. It's not just you guys, the city is doing this. So tell us a little more about this.
Well, the city has taken a major role in all of the regulatory ordinances here for the city. They're constantly making the changes to adapt to every state regulations as they change. So the city's taken an incredibly active role in probably being what I would say in the forefront of all the cities here in California with regards to meeting those requirements the state has in fact put out there. So Mayor Richard Kerr has himself taken on this role of basically heading up this marijuana initiative for the city of Adelanto. And obviously the tax base is going to benefit the city and everything else. But it is amazing to me that he has been able to make these decisions, get the city council, the staff, everyone else in Adelanto's planning commission, everybody else on board. And they have, in a very unique fashion, continued to implement ordinances that meet all of the state requirements. So when we went to meet with the state, he's taken me on the last 3 state trips, all of which we met with Lori Ajax, we've met with Governor Brown's task force, we've met with all of our congressmen and senators. He's brought the congressmen, senators, all the other regulatory agencies through here, as well as the police department, fire department, not just of our county, but of numerous other counties. So he continues to hold us up as a flagship. I'm sorry, we're still working here. So
no problem.
But he continues to hold us up as a flagship, absolutely. And quite frankly, we could not have accomplished any of this if it had not been for Mayor Kerr. It just would not have been possible. There's no other city in California that has these number of ordinances that would allow us to apply for these state-regulated licenses prior to 2018. No one else has this infrastructure. So to that end, the city of Adelanto, basically headed up by Mayor Kerr, has taken the reins of the marijuana industry and those ordinances set out by the state of California and implemented them at every level here in Adelanto, which has allowed us, obviously, to get those licenses, to become vertically integrated, and to build a facility like this, which we would not have been able to do anywhere else. So, what is the benefit for Adelanto? Obviously, the tax base that we'll create will be significant, but we also were hiring local individuals here. So another thing that we're bringing back to the community is the fact that we, in fact, are hiring local Adelanto residents, training them to do jobs here at the laboratory and for the nursery and ultimately for the grow. So it's a symbiotic relationship, but I'm telling you, it could only have happened under the guidance of Mayor Kerr. So I feel so blessed that we found Adelanto. They're excited about us. They obviously, this was a huge decision for them, and for us doing it in this professional manner has really justified all of the ordinances that they put in place. I mean, we've manifested, I think, probably their largest dream of how this would be done so that they could show it to other cities, not be embarrassed. The one thing that LDS promised Adelanto from the very beginning is that they would not be embarrassed by anything we built or did or any actions we took. So everything that we've done has been by the book. It may have taken longer to do it that way, but at the end of the day, we don't have anything that we have to look back on and be concerned with. We've done everything based on the regulations, everything based on the ordinances. So thanks to Adelanto, we were able to do it that way. And the end result is this laboratory, this manufacturing, our nursery, our grow facility, and ultimately our power station to power everything else we're doing. So I guess in conclusion, it's more of us thanking Adelanto. We're happy and glad to make them proud, if you will. So hopefully our shareholders will appreciate it as much as the city of Adelanto does.
Okay, Brad, I see a big trench behind you there. Can you let us know what this is?
This is a natural gas line. And the purpose of bringing the natural gas here is basically because SoCal Edison, the local electrical provider, cannot get us enough power in a reasonable amount of time. So we're going to be able to produce power here on site at approximately 30% savings over what the local provider would charge us. In fact, we believe that this will probably make us one of the lowest cost producers in California simply by the savings on energy. This could be up to $50,000 a month in savings just for this building. So we've actually purchased a 10-acre piece of property, which we expect to put 10 to 12 greenhouses on, which will have supplemental light. That building alone, we intend to also put natural gas turbines on that site to produce energy, again saving even more money because of the larger size of the turbines. They're actually more efficient than these smaller ones. So the fact is that we've had to, at every turn, solve a new problem. Initially, when we got involved in this, all we wanted to do is make strips. But we needed to control our genetics, we needed to control our extraction, we needed to control our formulations. Ultimately, in every aspect of this business, we are vertically integrated, and now even down to the power. So we will be controlling our own power sources, and we will be saving significant amount of money on that power source, specifically because it's going to cost us 30% less to get power, and that will translate into lower cost for production.
Well, Brad, you guys seem uniquely positioned, and I know the cannabis industry is going to be highly regulated, as you pointed out. But you guys have met these requirements, gone over and beyond, and give us, by way of conclusion here, what investors can expect down the pipeline, and how you guys are uniquely positioned compared to other companies in this space that have to deal with these same regulations and requirements and capital requirements at that. You just give us some thoughts here.
More and more, I'm not going to say we dwell on our differences, but we've been to Sacramento a number of times. We've met with Lori Ajax. We were just at a workshop in Riverside 2 days ago. We continue to dwell as deeply as we possibly can into what the regulations are, will be, could be, and try to, the best of our ability, continue to build the kind of foundation that will weather any kind of regulatory environment. Honestly, we know people that have discussed the things that we're doing. We don't know one company that's implemented all the things that we've implemented. And in fact, the number of regulatory licenses and CUPs, AQMD permits, you name it, we have those, and we don't know anyone else that has them. And talking to these regulatory agencies, they haven't even seen anyone apply for these. So my assessment currently is that, we're doing it out of what we believe to be necessity. But ultimately, I think it's going to benefit us probably 2-3-fold at the end of the day when other people can't get power, when other people can't control their genetics, when they can't control the volume of production. These are all going to be issues, especially in this new world of adult use or recreational use. So I think, for all intents and purposes, to the best of our ability, we've managed the expectations of what we hope our shareholders are, and hopefully built a foundation that at the end of the day when everyone looks back at this, maybe early in 2018, we'll say, why didn't everyone else do it this way? But currently, we're pretty excited about where we are, because as we go through this door right here, this is our vegetation room. Our vegetation room, for all intents and purposes, will produce 1 million square feet of grow every month in seedlings that are now in a vegetated state, ready to go into a full grow. Our intention, obviously, is to have those contract growers growing our genetics from this vegetation, and that genetics turning into our production. And to augment that, we've also purchased our own acreage, which will ultimately represent somewhere around 600,000 or 700,000 square feet of grow. So all of this is 2018 realization, but the work that we're doing here for the nursery, the production, the laboratory, the power, those will all be in place by the end of the year. And again, we'll be in production in the next couple days, and we'll be producing revenues this month, October 2017. And those revenues, we anticipate we're going to grow every month thereon.
It's very exciting, Brad. Is there anything else that you feel that the audience should be aware of when it comes to lifestyle delivery systems? I know we covered a lot today, and it's really exciting, a great update for current shareholders and for those who are just learning about the company. But anything else that you would want to share with us?
Probably the only thing I would like to share with our shareholders is there is some concern out there with regards to the TSX and their concerns with U.S. investment in listed companies. Obviously, we're on the CSE. The CSE, in fact, put out their own bulletin that said not only are they supporting their shareholder or their listed companies, but they welcome new companies that have U.S. interests. But beyond that, we've also cross-listed in the U.S. On the OTC bulletin board, but we're in the process of uplisting to the QX. This is going to give us a significant number of eyeballs, if you will, onto the stock and onto our story that won't require any other kind of qualification. So brokers in the U.S. will be able to sell the stock readily. We're already listed on Frankfurt. I think to the best of our ability, we have tried to mitigate any issues that may come from any of the regulatory agencies or the exchanges, hopeful that we have alternative exchanges to move to if we have to, but we don't anticipate it. We believe the CSE was certainly supportive, and I believe that this segment makes up a significant amount of the exchange listings, so I'm not expecting there to be any other issues. But every time these things are mentioned, they do affect shareholders. Shareholders have a reasonable amount of concern, but to the best of our ability, again, we're trying to mitigate any of those, in fact, concerns.
Brad, do you have an idea, or is there intent to be listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, or to stay on the CSE?
I believe we're going to stay on the CSE. Everything that I've seen so far, I'd have to say that the TSX is not looking like a favorable exchange for us. And the TSXV, I'm telling you, we have a great relationship with the CSE. They've done a magnificent job as far as I'm concerned, and they've been one amazing partner. Whenever we have any issues, we call them first. So, we have a working relationship there that we're really comfortable with, and we feel very comfortable being able to discuss any possibilities with them. So, to that end, from a regulatory standpoint, I can't imagine an exchange that would be more suited to what we're doing, and certainly not as supportive as the CSE has been.
Wow. Well, there you have it, everyone. Brad Eckenweiler, CEO of Lifestyle Delivery Systems. Brad, thank you very much for this opportunity to tour the facility, get an update on the company, and just learn more about this industry.
Kenneth, thank you. And you know what? I really appreciate you taking the time, because I know it's a lot of time, and there's still some rough edges here, but I really appreciate the ability to show the shareholders their new laboratory, their production facility, and hopefully that will give them the kind of comfort that obviously the investment that they've made is a good one.